This video will demonstrate how to work with heat transfer vinyl with cutting by hand and application with a household iron. So it comes in a huge selection of colours and it is very easy to work with. Normally heat transfer vinyl is designed to go through a cutter, but I'm going to show you today how to work with vinyl if you don't have a professional vinyl cutter. Now, so these are some examples of vinyl work that are achieved without using a cutter. So you can achieve simpler effects like this, where you're simply cutting out as if you're cutting pieces of paper and attaching them onto the fabric. The effect is very similar to print, so again, like applique, but doesn't require any stitching. For this technique, you will need some fabric to transfer onto, a piece of vinyl that you can use to cut up and apply to the fabric, a motif that you want to work with to cut out, a scissors for cutting, a pen for drawing onto the back of the vinyl, and finally some baking parchment to help to press it into place, and of course an iron to press with. So this is the motif that I'm planning to work with, and I'm intending to cut two separate pieces so that I can create a division where the line is here in the middle. Now I've just placed the motif that I've cut out down onto the shiny part, or the shiny side of the vinyl. So it's worth noting that the vinyl has two sides on it. The very, very shiny side is the side where there's a sheet of plastic that will get peeled away and thrown away afterwards. The other side, so the more matte side, is the side that will attach to your fabric. So I'm going to place the two motifs here. I'm always aware of trying to make the best value or get the best value from the vinyl. So I don't technically need to cut them together. I could end up using a piece over here or over here, because I will then, when they're cut out, replace them on the fabric to attach them. So I'm going to trace around them now. I am using a Sharpie or a permanent marker, because most other types of marker tend to smudge on the background here. So a permanent marker is handy to have. Now, so I've just taped the motif down with some small pieces of masking tape, and I've traced around them with the marker. Okay, so now removing the templates that I've used, and I can fill in those small gaps with the pen. Okay, and then simply to cut them out with a scissors. This is the motif placed on the fabric. You can still see the permanent black lines on the protective plastic coating that's on the surface of the fabric. So they won't actually transfer. This layer of plastic will be removed after I've transferred the vinyl onto the fabric. So I have my iron set on 2 dots. So a typical iron will have a synthetic setting, or like on this side, 1 dots, 2 dots, 3 dots, so a medium heat. So if I set this one here on wool, that's probably a good setting, but really you will need to test this out yourselves to see what the best setting is. So in theory, I can apply the iron directly onto these, but they tend to slide and move. So I'm going to use the baking parchment, and I'm going to use a sheet of this on top to protect. Okay, so placing the parchment over the vinyl, and then applying the heat quite firmly, good firm pressure. We're trying to press it almost into the fabric. In general, when the color of the patches underneath or of the heat transfer vinyl have changed, generally they're done. But as a general guide here, I would say about 30 seconds is a good amount. But again, you just need to test it out and see for yourselves what the most successful length of time and heat is. So when I remove the paper, I can look at the work, and again there is a bubbly finish. So to me that would indicate that it has set, and then I just need to check and to see, does the plastic coating come away. So you can see here the plastic coating is coming away from the vinyl base. Now, if it isn't fully set at this point, it's not the end of the world. We can go back over the vinyl with a medium temperature iron, but we will need to work very carefully now from here on in with the baking parchment. So that is the finished heat transfer vinyl. And if I did for any reason want to go back over it again, I just need to be careful to reapply the baking parchment, and then I can iron it again. Okay, so that is the finished piece. Okay, for a second experiment, I have taken some of the leftover vinyl and I've taken half of the previous motif and I've traced out 5 sections of it. So I'm going to cut these out and arrange them like Lego onto a new piece of fabric. So this is the 5 leafy sections from the previous motif laid down on the piece of fabric. So again, so that these pieces don't roll away, we just need to put some baking paper on top. And then I apply the first pressure in the middle just to make sure that these don't move as I'm pressing the remaining sections on. Okay, so we'll just take a look. Okay, so this one appears to be well attached. Okay, there's quite a bit of resistance when removing these plastic sheets. They're really stuck on with an adhesive backing. Okay, so just to be sure then that they've all stuck well, I'm going to give it a last iron with a piece of paper on top. This is the finished piece. So I think the main thing to remember with this technique is it's like a very fast way of doing applique type work. Maybe not quite so environmentally friendly because what we're doing is attaching a vinyl onto a piece of fabric, but it's a lot like print work and it saves you from screen printing and is very, very fast if you're happy with the scissors.